Welcome to Exploring the Metaverse, where we explore the depths of virtual and augmented reality in the ever-expanding metaverse and how that applies to regular people. In today's episode, we speak with CEO of Portion.io, Jason Rosenstein, who represents a 21st century blockchain-based auction house of digital NFTs. And Portion was one of the few companies that paid a whopping seven-figure sum for virtual land in Decentraland. This interview absolutely blew my mind. I think it's going to blow yours too. Let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. First of all, it really is an absolute honor to get to speak with individuals such as yourself who have, such direct action, in this upcoming and I think just really future moving industry. And I say that in sort of a general sense. I mean, we talk about the metaverse and we talk about these things, and I really believe that those concepts are still being defined. But tell us about yourself and tell us how you found yourself in the direction of being the CEO of an NFT development platform and marketplace, and just sort of what your background is.
Cool. Well, thank you. Very briefly, I've always been involved with technology. I got involved with Bitcoin in 2011. I was just fascinated by what it can do for the financial world, and I started my first company where we were selling turnkey mining machines, and then it evolved. Kind of the space evolved from what it can do for the finance world to what it could do with data, and that meant storing data on chain, and then of course that evolved into Ethereum and smart contracts. And Portion really started in 2016, initially in an effort to verify and track provenance and authenticity of physical art. But I got involved with some early stuff, crypto art, rare Pepe projects, specifically
Yeah,
creating these pieces, which, man, at the time, they weren't called NFTs. That really didn't come until much later. It was just simply crypto art, and being able to put a piece of artwork, digital artwork, directly on the blockchain and verify it.
absolutely.
It's fascinating, and so artists were able to use this technology, channel their creativity into a token form and then instantly be able to monetize it.
So it's mainly for artists, for people who are creating unique works.
That's correct. Unique pieces of digital artwork that can be placed, essentially a receipt on the blockchain, and the work can be stored on, we call it's generally known as IPFS, which is a layer of data storage across the world to keep everything redundant and fault tolerant. That is the goal of the
I
NFT.
I think that's fantastic, and I definitely completely comprehend that concept of that shared ledger amongst all of the users on the blockchain. And I think that there's still, going to be a lot of learning for many people, everyone included, really. But as this technology evolves, I think that right now, though, personally, my perception from here in where I live here in Canada is that NFTs are somehow dangerous and prone to hacking and prone to fail. Like I see this bright future, but I think there's a big challenge, a big hurdle right now in that aspect. And what are you and Portion doing to protect the consumer, to protect that end user, and to continue to push this forward?
Well, it's a really valid concern regarding the security, and the reason, or at least one of the reasons why the blockchain was great and is great for financial transactions is because the user who holds the keys holds their finance, right? So essentially, you're in your own control. You have your own keys. There's no intermediaries. There's no bank. There's no central control. It's decentralized. And so if you lose those keys, you lose access
Yep.
to all of your funds. And in this case, you lose your NFTs too. So what we do, and the best we can do, because we don't hold any keys on behalf of users, that's really important for us. What we do is we've written some blog posts. We've shared this information with the community of how to properly store their keys so that they can't be hacked. Because it can happen, somebody can click on a funny link and that can open up something that looks like their
Yeah.
wallet. You know what I'm saying? And
Just like
then
somebody can break into your house and steal your watch. I mean, it's there's always an onus on the individual as well who's participating in any particular activity to participate in a manner that's responsible and congruent with the needs of this particular action, which is, this crypto related NFT process, right?
Exactly. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because, while you have complete control of your finance, on the other hand, if you lose that control, well, there's really not much that can be done because it's totally decentralized. So it's a
Unless you have a
beautiful
lot of
thing.
money and you're a celebrity and you can get someone to sell you back your ape if he may have gone astray.
Yeah, that has happened. I'm sure you've seen of things like that in the past where that's occurred. If you have a large enough influence and you can get to the person somehow who hacked your material, then yeah, I
Everything
mean,
has a price.
exactly.
So now because to me, I think this is really an inevitable push towards future ownership as, virtual spaces become more and more prevalent and more relevant to people. I look at, kids going to school and having all these actions and inside of it, what would otherwise be, originally for me, like I look at a virtual world like a game, right? And it's sort of a non-consequential environment. Your character can live, your character can die, but you just, you walk away and it's gone. And I look at these NFT art ownership pieces, and I think about the current state of social media and the internet and how people use art online today. We have a profile picture on our social media, maybe our account picture, something of that matter. And what is Portion doing to integrate these NFTs, or how are you bringing your platform together with existing platforms that are already in the marketplace today?
So one of the core aspects of Web3 and DeFi, decentralized finance, is that these platforms work together. There's open source technology and there is a sort of glue between everything. So we use open source wallets, we use wallets that other platforms use, and we make it as seamless as possible to, utilize and store your NFTs on OpenSea, but still have that same wallet access your NFTs on Portion, on Super Rare, on other marketplaces that exist in the space.
Okay, so it's a pretty easy system. I'm thinking about that kind of naive user who might be listening right now, who's interested in owning an NFT and sort of dipping their toes in. Do you have a good? Well, I mean, I'm gonna guess you do, but what is the onboarding process like? And how many steps would it take from the average person, to sit down in front of a computer until they are the proud owner of a shiny new original piece of art or otherwise?
Well, the first thing would be to make sure you have a wallet. I always recommend the MetaMask wallet just because it's an extremely popular Chrome and Firefox extension.
I can
And
I
you
can
can
totally agree. I've used it with one for years.
cool, and I mean, it's pretty easy. The hardest part and the hurdle for new users would probably be getting some ETH because for every transaction you need to have Ether, which is the token majorly used as you know on the Ethereum blockchain. And
Absolutely.
someone might have to go to Coinbase, connect a bank account, wire US dollars in. Then once they receive the ETH, then they can transport that to the MetaMask wallet where they can make any purchase on any NFT marketplace.
Yeah, I think it's great, especially the fact that Ether's on sale right now. So, it's
Big
uh,
sale, down quite tremendously. This thing, crypto goes in waves. It's very volatile, and
absolutely.
no one really has any idea what's going to happen next.
No, I think that's absolutely true, and I think that's one of the big challenges right now is the market in general. And is that been a big motivating factor in diversifying from the marketplace aspect of NFTs and into the development into the larger virtual spaces?
Well, we started working with our metaverse activations about a year and a half ago. I had heard about Decentraland in 2017 when they had their ICO, and it just always been fascinated. It always seemed to me like it was one of the next big things, and so we
Yeah.
started it pretty much before the big wave of like Facebook and Meta getting involved. We started well before they got involved. But it's really just NFTs a couple years ago were flat, two-dimensional images, and we see the metaverse as bringing these NFTs into more of a three-dimensional reality. And what ownership means in the metaverse and having them backed by NFTs, to a lot of people, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think about that, and you talk about Facebook and this massive push towards even just sort of owning the term metaverse. And have you been able to collaborate or at least have contact and discussions with some of these large tech companies? And does that back end open technology and collaborative future still exist? Does it feel like that the future is bright between the biggest tech players and some of our, I think, most exciting and interesting companies such as Portion, the startups and maybe the small medium sized corporations? What is the future of collaboration looking like in the industry, and do you see bright things ahead?
I do. There's a rapid shift between Web 2 and Web 3 technologies, and we can only hope at this point that collaboration from these larger companies, an open source mentality and mindset is here to stay. I know that there's trendsetters in Web3 who are opening and paving these new pathways for this sort of collaborative mentality, and at this point, we can only hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no big announcements at this time as far as partnerships with any of these companies, because I really believe in that direction, and I really think that there's such a wide open possibility, this open ended possibility for what the landscape of the metaverse could look like in 10 years and 15 years when things have really developed and really matured. And and I don't know, I was just trying to see what kind of uh you know interesting things might be on the horizon as well.
Well, I can say for us specifically, we had a really cool partnership with Philipp Plein, who's a luxury clothing line. And what they wanted to do is birth a new brand in the metaverse. So we did
Wow.
that for them, and we helped them create their first fashion line in the metaverse. We assisted them to sell digital sneakers, to sell digital outfits, and other sorts of assets that could be worn and adorned on avatars in the metaverse.
Oh, I think that's incredibly important to bringing in people such as gamers into this
Mhm.
space, because I really think they're going to be some of the individuals who pave the way for the general population. And I've experienced these three-dimensional access points even through a browser, and having a generic avatar is still an engaging experience. But when you're able to customize and utilize real fashion items and really having that personal expression, I think it's really so important for the uptake for the average person to feel bought in and to feel that that avatar truly is a representation of themselves. And I think that extends right alongside of that NFT concept. And I think it's just so exciting that you guys are sort of leading the way, maybe quietly. I mean, not everyone has heard of this, and that's part of why I love to talk to people like you, Jason, so that we can get this message out and help people understand what it is that's going on. That it's not just people getting hacked. Of course, with any new technology, there's some growing pains, but I think beyond that, this is truly going to be the future for my kids and their children. And I think that it's important work, right? And I'm really thankful that you chose to take some time to talk about it with me. And what other aspects would you like to discuss? Because I know you guys have done some incredible celebrity collaborations. I mean, I don't think it would be right to have this conversation without discussing some of that and letting people know really the high level buy-in that's already occurring out there in the real world.
Yeah, so we did in the past year collaborations with WizKhalifa, Two Chains, Tohi. We did something with Apple from the Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, nice.
Um, we had one piece with Virgil Abloh about a year ago. It was a digital skateboard, which was rather fascinating.
How do you how does the end user experience a digital skateboard? What do you ride it? Do you hold it? Do you hang it on a wall? Like what is the sort of use case for that?
So this one specifically, this was a physical skateboard was delivered to the end user, but
Oh,
the actual digital piece, right, was just a two-dimensional NFT at the time. And we didn't do anything after because of the unfortunate passing of Virgil, but it could have,
oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, so we
sorry
didn't,
to hear
it
that.
wouldn't have been rights to do anything without any permission there. But things like that can expand to being actual digital skateboards or digital assets in a metaverse like Decentraland or Sandbox. I should have also said, I should have mentioned Stevie Williams, who it was Stevie Williams and Virgil Abloh who did that. I didn't want to leave Stevie out of it.
And Decentraland, I mean, you guys are pretty major players in that well-established and well-known aspect of the metaverse. Tell me a little bit more about Decentraland and where Portion fits in there.
Yeah, so Decentraland is a partner of ours. We did the um, the Metaverse Fashion Week with them. We're teaming up to do the Art Week with them in August.
Nice.
And Decentraland is personally my favorite metaverse. It was one of the first. It was also the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that land became scarce because of blockchain technology. Any other metaverse before that, because of the scarcity and cryptography of the blockchain, it wasn't possible to make land scarce.
Now, just
Um,
to clarify, is that related to the similar concept in that Bitcoin only has a finite number of coins that can be minted and then the mining process is essentially completed?
exactly. So there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins. And the same thing for Decentraland. There will only ever be 10,000 parcels of land.
I think that's so important for the average person in understanding where the value comes in. Because when we talk about, six, seven figure purchases of digital land, I do believe that for the average, perhaps non-digitally inclined individual, I think that seems almost surreal. I think it seems fanciful, and I don't know how to really convey that message. And I think we're really touching on an important aspect of it right now, that scarcity of the physical, well, the digital crypto side.
Yeah, it is a big mouthful, and there is a lot of resistance. People always ask me, well, why can't Decentraland create more land? And the answer is, well, it's because they said that they won't. It's because they said there's only going to be 10,000, and the community is revolving around this digital scarce 10,000 tokens that exist today. And it boils down, at the end of the day, truly boils down to the math and the cryptography behind it.
And that's a difficult lesson to bring to school. But I mean, I think it's super exciting, and this kind of partnership with Decentraland. Is there other entities that Portion is partnered with? Other groups that you think are really going to play a big part in this development process?
I, I'd say Publicis Sapient is is an amazing partner of ours. They
I'm
they
sorry, what
work
was
with a
their name?
bunch
I apologize, I missed that.
Publicis Sapient,
Okay.
and they have amazing brands they work with, ranging from Samsung to other similarly large companies, and brands like them, brands like L'Oreal, etc. They're showing an interest in having activations in the metaverse, and Publicis Sapient is bringing those dreams and visions of these brands they work with to market.
That's fantastic. So,
So I see them as a really key player in this
okay,
next wave of the metaverse and digital collectibles and NFT drops and collaborations.
I think it's fantastic. Honestly, it is so exciting, Jason. So that's kind of the upcoming. Have I missed any major details? Because I find this subject so interesting. and sometimes I kind of have a narrow focus. I get in on one idea and I really want to get deep on it, but I know it's a broad topic and there's many different interests. Um, is there some unknown or undiscussed yet nugget that you think really would be exciting for the listeners to know about?
Well, I think it's really important for the gaming community to know that, when this technology really starts to take off, there's going to be real stakes. There's going to be real finances involved with playing a game. And I'm looking at games like Star Atlas, built on the blockchain, ships that represent themselves as NFTs, clothing that represents themselves, crew that represent themselves as NFTs. And the stakes are real. And I think, and this might be kind of presumptuous, but I think that in the future, no one's ever going to play a game for, for free,
Do
to
they
just spend their
even
time.
now?
I think,
Right. Yeah. Well, oh, you mean to earn a
that-
profit
yeah,
through action?
I think that's the future through the metaverse, through NFTs. And I don't think anyone's ever going to be playing a game in the next decade, let's say, just to be safe, to not receive anything. You know, I, I,
Because time
I
is so
think there's
valuable.
people. Right. So I think there's going to be real economies that develop because of this technology. I think people are going to be getting paid a tremendous amounts based on their skill set in that particular game. And I think the stakes are going to be so real that if your character dies in the game or if your ship explodes, you lose all of your NFTs, you lose all of those hard-earned assets, just like you would in the traditional physical world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I
You
think
know?
that's where the buy-in comes from the regular person, is that there's more meaning to a virtual space than there might be today. For today it might just seem like it's sort of wasted entertainment, casually scrolling, flip, 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 looking at simple things. But when you have an investment in it and you have that physical cash involved, or your hard-earned mind or otherwise acquired cryptocurrency, and you lose that, um,
Mm-hmm.
that's a totally different experience. And I see where the appeal comes in, just like a casino, or just like a job, or just like an investment that you have. Even the purchase of a lottery ticket. Once you have skin in the game, it makes you want to be a bigger part of that game.
Definitely. And I think what we're going to see is more and more there's going to be more of a mirror between what happens in the physical world and the metaverse. So we're going to approach that asymptote of everything that happens in the mirror in the metaverse has these real world like stakes, and just closer and closer gets to being what life's like in the physical universe.
I couldn't agree more. I honestly couldn't agree more, and I think it's just a matter of time, honestly. How do our listeners, how do they meet up with you in your community? Is there a gathering place for Portion, web page, social media, that type of thing?
Yeah, so portion.io is a good place to start. That's the auction house where we have NFT drops. And from there, there's links to our Discord community, to our Twitter, and even directly to our museum in the metaverse if you want to check that out and walk around Decentraland a bit.
That's really fantastic. I can't wait. I can't wait for this to become the thing that is the norm across the board. But at the same time, it is incredibly special, to be able to speak with you and founders of this industry. And is there any parting words, Jason, or a message that you wanted to bring before we take off?
Well, Matthew, I'm just very thankful for your time, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And for everyone else out there, just be careful and don't, of course, the old saying, don't spend what you can't afford to lose, because this is the Wild West and it's all very raw and it's all very experimental, but it's all extremely exciting at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Jason. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, Matthew. Have a wonderful day.
If you enjoyed this episode and you're looking for more, or you want to connect with Exploring the Metaverse, contact me via Gmail, ExploringTheMetaverseTogether at gmail.com. Yes, that's ExploringTheMetaverseTogether at gmail.com. Give me your comments, feedback, questions, and concerns, and especially if you're interested in being interviewed, or you know of a great match for me to interview, please let me know. It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks again for listening. And hey, don't forget to leave a review on your favorite platform of choice. Have a great day.